Hi everyone. Today we're going to be looking at a couple of problem sets that deal with, again, distributions. And first one we're going to look at today is comparing distributions. Comparing distributions. Question says, well, the problem is, before sending track and field athletes to the Olympics, the U.S. holds a qualifying meet. The box plots below show what the distances in meters achieved in the final round by the top 11 women's discus throwers at the 2012 Olympic Games and the top 12 women's discus throwers at the U.S. qualifying meet. Which pieces of information can be gathered from these box plots? So let's take a look. All right. Here are the U.S. qualifiers, and these are the Olympic finalists for the discus, right? It's a track and field event. So it says, all right, here are your choices. Choose all that apply. A. The distances in the Olympic final were farther on average. We can see that in this box plot, compared to the bottom box plot, we see that the distances for the finals are much, on average, they're higher than the ones that were in the average of the U.S. qualifiers, correct? So that is true. Okay, that is definitely true. We can see it. Um, the distances in the Olympic final were all greater than the U.S. qualifier distances. Well, that's not true because if you look here, these distances here overlap with the distances here, correct? So I would say from like 60 to 63, I think, right? There's overlap here. So that's not true. C. The distances in the Olympic final varied noticeably more than the U.S. qualifiers. Well, let's take a look. Okay, we have from 60 to about 69, so that's about 9, right? 9 meters. Here we have from 54 to 63. So that's about 9 meters as well, 54 to 63, correct? So they're about the same. So I wouldn't say that's true. So just A, and that is correct. Okay? Let's try another one. Minneapolis, Minnesota, and Portland, Oregon have very similar latitudes. Again, latitude measures how far north or south a place is, which in turn affects the temperature. Right? The histograms below show the daily high temperatures in degrees Celsius that were recorded during January 2013 in each city. Which piece of information can be gathered from these histograms? Choose all that apply. So here is the histogram for the average temperatures, right, for Portland, and this is for Minneapolis. And we can see there is a big difference here, correct? So let's try to answer the questions. A. On average, Minneapolis was colder during January. On average, and we can see that is true, right? So the average would be somewhere probably in here, correct? And that temperature is definitely going to be colder than here. Okay, we look, maybe the average is going to be in here somewhere. Right here's the peak, so maybe in here. So that is definitely true. On any given day, it was colder in Minneapolis than in Portland. On any given day. Well, that's not true. Because again, there is overlap at 1 degree, correct? We have temperatures here in 1 degree from 1 to 7, and same thing here. There's overlap. So again, on any given day, no. Probably on average, but not on any given day. Daily high temperature in January vary more noticeably in Minneapolis. And we can say definitely that is true because this temperature in Minneapolis goes from -20 to 7 as opposed to 1 to about 13, correct? So yeah, definitely that is true. Okay, the daily high temperatures vary more noticeably. And that is correct. Okay, let's do a couple more. Baltimore Ravens won the American Football Championship in 2013. In the same season, Kansas City Chiefs had a record of 2 wins and 14 losses. Data plots below show the 40-yard dash times in seconds of the defensive backs on each team's roster. Defensive backs mainly defend against passes, and the 40-yard dash is the main measure of speed used in American football? Which pieces of information can be gathered from these dot plots? Remember, the lower 40-yard dash times are faster. So we have three choices here, and here they are. Here's the dot plot for the 40-yard dash times for the defensive backs of Baltimore and Kansas City. Questions. Okay, so the choices are A, the defensive backs on the Chiefs are faster on average. Well, on average, probably the average is right around here, correct? Somewhere around here for the Chiefs, but even this is much more widespread, so I would venture to guess the average is down here somewhere. So that's not true, right? It seems like the defensive backs on the Ravens are faster. The speed of the defensive backs on the Chiefs vary noticeably more than the speed of the defensive backs on the Ravens. Well, that's opposite. Okay, there's more variation on the Ravens than there is on the Chiefs, right? The Ravens vary from 4.3 all the way up here to, which is what, I don't know, 4.5 something. For the Chiefs, it's only right here, right? This is the range here for the Chiefs, so that's backwards. So I would say none of the above. That is correct. Okay, let's do one more. We have, before sending track and field athletes to the Olympics, the U.S. holds qualifying meets. Okay, and the upper box plot shows the top 12 men's long jumpers at the qualifiers. Lower box shows the distance achieved in the men's long jump at the Olympic Games. So which of these can be gathered from these two box plots? Here you go. Try to show everything. There you go. Okay, so A, the Olympic jumps were farther on average than the U.S. qualifier jumps. So the Olympic jumps were farther on average than the qualifier. Well, yeah, the average is probably somewhere in here for the Olympic jumps, and the qualifier is somewhere around here. So I would agree with that. Olympic jumps were farther on average than the qualifiers. B, all the Olympic jumps were farther than, oh no, well, we have overlap again. That's not true, correct? And actually, the big chunk of the Olympic jumps overlaps with the qualifier jumps. So that is not true. The Olympic jumps vary noticeably more than the U.S. qualifiers. That is correct, because look, it starts from about 7.7, goes all the way up to like 8.35, I don't know, 8.32 or, yeah, 8.32 or something like that. The U.S. qualifiers only go from here, like 7.6 something, all the way up to 7.9 something, right? So I would agree with that, and that is correct. Okay, guys, great.